Welcome back to County Connection. For the next segment, we're going to be talking about solutions on Interstate 70, and who better to join me but Margaret Bowes, the director of the I-70 Mountain Corridor Coalition. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you for having me.
So Margaret, I-70, I'm sure everyone is familiar with how it can sometimes cause headaches, but people may not know what the I-70 Coalition is. Tell us a little bit about this organization and how it was formed.
Okay, sure. The I-70 Coalition is a nonprofit organization. It is membership-based, and so our members are towns, counties, and some of the larger employers along the corridor, so the resorts, and Climax Mine, for example, is another member.
Okay.
We are not directly associated with CDOT. A lot of people assume we are. We work very closely with the Department of Transportation, just like we do other agencies like Colorado State Patrol and the Colorado Motor Carriers.
Okay, and talk a little bit about how the coalition was initially formed and how long ago and why.
So it was formed back in 2004 at a time when the state and the federal government were just kind of moving ahead with determining what the ideal solution was for this interstate. And they really weren't getting much of any input from mountain towns and businesses that are so dependent on the corridor. So the coalition was formed by some of those entities so they could speak with one larger voice, so we can go down to the legislature with a stronger voice, and also when we talk to our congressional representatives, that we have kind of more power behind us when we ask for support on this corridor.
Right, and it really is such an essential transportation corridor that that our local economies depend on, but that impact even ripples out to the state too, right?
Oh, it sure does, yeah. I mean, a huge portion of the state's tourism revenue comes from the mountain resort region, and it is really the only east-west connection to move goods, goods and services from the east slope to the west slope. So yes, it not only affects us that live here and the Front Range visitors, but our destination tourists and commerce as well.
Okay, so as someone who spends a lot of time thinking about this stretch of highway, what are some of the solutions that are out there on the horizon or in the mix in terms of ideas of how to address some of these pinch points and congestion issues and some of the headaches that we see from time to time? Okay,
so there is a plan in place. People will be happy to know. Let's see, it took a decade to get to the point where we had a plan in place. It was a very long process, but we now have the I-70 Record of Decision. That's a federally recorded document that has identified solutions for this corridor through the year 2050. And that document does state through a lot of studies that to meet the capacity that this corridor will need through the year 2050, that the solution has to be both highway widening, but also some form of high-speed transit. So an advanced guideway system has been studied, kind of a step one of investigating that high-speed transit technology,
And can you explain a little bit about what an advanced guideway system is?
That's just a generic term for high-speed transit.
Okay.
It might not be rail, so we don't want to call it rail. It definitely wouldn't be light rail. And so advanced guideway system is just a really generic term for moving people quickly in a mass transit format.
Okay, so those also potential solutions might be high-speed buses with a dedicated lane or who knows what the technology might be.
Yeah, the studies have shown that buses won't quite get us there.
Okay.
A dedicated bus lane isn't going to quite get us where we need to be. So the solution is 6-laning from Floyd Hill to the Eagle County Airport, in addition to some kind of high-speed transit system.
Okay.
That is the preferred solution for the corridor. There will also be lots of other intermediary steps like interchange improvements, adding auxiliary lanes, so like a climbing lane, so slow-moving trucks would have another option to get over. Those are some of the more midterm solutions. And then we also have lots of more near-term strategies that I'm happy to talk about too, if you're interested in those.
Yeah, so that's kind of I love that there is that long-term game plan as well as the immediate term, and because there are some key measures that we can take as individual drivers or as government agencies around the state. So yeah, let's shift gears and talk about the short-term solutions.
Okay. So yeah, those long-term solutions I mentioned, and even some of the midterm stuff, like adding new capacity westbound from Floyd Hill to the Empire exit would likely be the next capacity building project that CDOT would tackle. But those construction projects can take a long time. So we know we need to look in the nearer term. What can we do now? Traffic is kind of at a crisis now.
Sure.
And what are things we can do to improve the flow of traffic on I-70? So
with the infrastructure that's in place.
Right, with the highway we have today. And really, the strategy that's deemed to be have the most impact is shifting travel times. So we know that on a Wednesday morning or a Thursday afternoon, there's plenty of capacity out there.
Sure.
There's no traffic problems. It's just very specific times of day, days of the week, months out of the year. So how can we get some of those folks that want to travel all at the same time to shift and choose a different time to travel? So encouraging people to travel off-peak instead of during peak. Okay. And so we do a lot of educating about how folks can do that. We also work with businesses to provide incentives so we can encourage those folks, give them a reason or a good incentive to stay later on a Saturday night, later on a Sunday night, and let that traffic clear out before they head back to the Front Range.
Okay, and all of this, these kind of short-term solutions and strategies that drivers can individually employ to make their lives a little bit easier, all live in one great place online.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Sure. GoI70.com is a project of the I-70 Coalition, and that is really how we deliver all this information to the traveling public. So we have all sorts of travel tips about how folks can avoid traffic. We post a travel forecast every Thursday, and I pour over data every week and look at the historical data for this weekend on previous years, and I look at some of the events that are happening along the mountain corridor and look at weather and kind of give my best guess for when traffic's going to build and when it's going to abate. And so hopefully we encourage folks to look at that before they travel and try to plan their travel around the high peak times. So that's a big component of GoI70.com. Those business incentives I mentioned are also all listed. Those are our peak time deals that are listed at GoI70.com. We have, I think, over 100 businesses participating now, and a good portion of those are here in Summit County. So the Summit County business community has really stepped up and helping us, being a part of the I-70 solution. So we appreciate their involvement.
And what are some examples of some of the best deals out there?
So I don't want to pick favorites, so I won't name individual businesses, but there's lots of 2-for-1 appetizer specials and $2 slices of pizza. We have both rec centers participate and offer discounts. So if you want to go take a shower or hit the hot tub after you ski, those are other options.
Right, I have seen a hot tub happy hour that looks pretty good after a long day of skiing.
So lots of activities, shopping specials, discounts. We have lots of lodging. They're all Sunday night specials. So that's another good travel tip for folks is just stay a Sunday night, get up early, head down to work or school on a Monday morning.
Great. Yeah, and I think that travel forecast, we think of the recreational traffic as really being the heart of some of that congestion, but there are those instances when as a Summit County resident, you have to take a flight out somewhere on a Sunday and get down to the airport. So this travel forecast can really come in handy for locals as well, just if you're going to be moving around the county or heading down to Denver. Yeah,
absolutely. Grandma's birthday parties in Denver on a Sunday afternoon, and a lot of locals know, it's bad in the afternoons, but a lot of locals don't travel enough to know, well, does it get bad at noon or is it 2 or is it 3? So I hope it's helpful to locals as well.
Okay, great. And so for folks who are interested in learning a little bit more detail about any of these either short-term solutions or long-term solutions, where can they get that information?
So I guess I would direct people to our organization website, i70solutions.org. That will have all sorts of information on the projects that are underway, the short-term and the long-term solutions. Some of the studies I referenced are also listed there. And then there's an easy link to get to the Go I-70 site under Traveler Resources. So they can go to i70solutions.org and learn a whole lot about kind of the big picture stuff, the policy level stuff of the I-70 Mountain Corridor, and then also link to goI70.com for some more details about, day-to-day traffic congestion avoidance strategies.
Excellent. All right. Anything that you would want to add about the I-70 Coalition and the work that you guys are doing?
No, I guess I would like to maybe highlight one more short-term strategy.
Sure.
And so in addition to encouraging off-peak travel, we would also like to just reduce the number of cars traveling on the corridor any given weekend. So we do heavily promote carpooling services and strategies, as well as any kind of transit that's running up and down the corridor on the weekends.
Which we have some new options.
Yes, we have the bus staying, the CDOT state-supported bus service. We also have a ski bus and front range ski bus and some other options. So all things transit and carpooling related to the I-70 corridor are all listed on goI70.com as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all the great work and implementing some of those great solutions, and then keeping your eye on those long-term fixes as well.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. We're going to take another quick break, but stick with us. When we come back, we're going to hear from the team at Mountain Mentors.